This video is sponsored by Squarespace, and I'm going to reveal the best bikes I have ridden and reviewed here on Just Ride Bikes over the last 6 months. Because, yes, that's right, we are nearly halfway through 2023, so now it seems a good time to have a quick look back at some of the standout bikes before we continue into the rest of the year. I'll put links to all the full reviews of the bikes in the video if you want to watch them in more detail down below in the description. Okay, let's start with number 5 on the list, and it is the Ventum NS1. Now, Ventum is a US direct sales brand like Canyon here in Europe, and I had the opportunity to ride the bike for a while and was really impressed with the package they have put together. The price and value of money is really good and competitive compared to bike brands that sell through shops, brick and mortar outlets. But with the NS1, there's no compromise in pursuit of that low price and the value for money it seems to offer on paper, because the performance was really good. It was fast, great handling, the comfort was decent for such an aero looking bike with space and wide tyres. The bike I reviewed had 30mm wide tyres fitted as standard. I think a bit wider if you want. And the bike that I felt could do everything you really want from a high performance bike for racing, for general riding, perhaps sporties, just a fast bike for hacking around your local roads on with no real compromise. And it was nice to get the opportunity to test a bike that's pretty popular over in the US, but we don't see it often here in the UK and in Europe as well. So a real nice opportunity to test a bike. I like the way you can customize the build and the specification of the bike as well, and even the way it looks through choosing different colors, give you more options than you get from many other bigger bike brands. So testing the NS1 put the Ventum from a brand I've never really heard of to a brand that's very high on my list and radar right now. I can't wait to try out their GS1 gravel bike very soon in the future. Number 4 on my list is the giant Revolt X like that. A very controversial bike, I know, because Giant has taken a very popular and award-winning Revolt gravel bike platform, which I've tested here on the channel in different configurations, specifications, price points and frame material, and I've always been really impressed with the performance, handling, versatility and capability. Does everything you want from a gravel bike really. But I took that platform and modified the frame geometry and put a suspension fork on the front like this one here and a combined dropper suspension seat post, and basically increase the capability of the bike by a factor of lots. A bike that can now take on really chunky, rocky trails, do mountain bike single track, and while you can do the trails on a normal gravel bike, and I do like that underbiking mentality, it can be a bit sketchy and it can be a bit dicey, but with that suspension fork, the geometry, bigger tyres and that dropper seat post just gives you the ability to ride the sort of trails where you probably will be better off on a mountain bike. And yes, a mountain bike, hardtail, full suspension would be faster on those trails. It gives you a bike that's fast on the road, fast on typical gravel, but can also do quite a bit of that kind of sketchy, technical single track where a mountain bike will be better, but faster than the mountain bike, in my opinion, on the smoother gravel and the road section due to drop handlebars and all the versatility you get from such a bike. The only slight wrinkle in the package here was the price was definitely a bit punchy for what we expect from Giant normally. The bike I tested had a SRAM mullet gearing, lots of carbon fibre, wheels and so on, and were quite pricey for what we would expect from Giant, and pricier than a similar spec Canyon Grizzle with the same suspension fork. So high price aside, a fantastic package, not for everybody, but really showing an interesting direction and possible future for where gravel bikes could go in. Probably become a niche category, not for everybody, but if you like to ride your gravel bike on quite rough terrain, this is probably one to choose. Number 3 on my list is a bike I was umming and ahhing about putting on my list because I've only ridden it once at the press event, but based on that first ride, and first impressions are very powerful for me, was a brand new Cannondale Supersix Evo. A number of reasons why I include it in my video. Number 1 is because the Supersix Evo is a classic do everything race bike that is an easy bike to recommend. Like the Tarmac from Specialized, the Supersix Evo has always been an easy bike to recommend and a bike that delivers everything you want, whether you're racing, hill climbing, or doing sporties, or love riding fast for fun and fitness. And the Supersix Evo has great handling, good performance, and the new bike was even better. While not a game changer in terms of the difference and improvements over the old bike, had quite a few sensible updates that make an easier bike to recommend than the old bike was, which had a few quirks, namely cable routing and the graphics and paint jobs were a bit lackluster. But the new bike looks sharp, looks smart, and it looks fast. So better paint jobs, better graphics, much better cable routing. On paper, it's faster in terms of aerodynamics and drag. We had the same classic handling as well from the geometry. And then the comfort was a really surprising thing. A bike that gives you all that acceleration and aggression when you're really sprinting hard, but wrapped up with quite incredible comfort and smoothness for such a bike as well. So while not a game changer in any one aspect, all those small improvements over the old model make it probably the best Supersix Evo we've ever had. Okay, we are flying through this list of the top 5 bikes of the year so far. But before we carry on any further, I need to tell you about today's sponsor, Squarespace. Is your website looking tired and rubbish? Well, with Squarespace, you can change all that and get a professional looking website up and running in minutes. And great news for many of us, you don't need to be tech savvy at all. It's so simple to use. To help you get started, you have a wide selection of award-winning templates and everything can be customized just by dragging and dropping. And there are loads of useful features as well. Start an email campaign, get blogging and share your cycling stories, videos and photos, or sell your own custom merch with none of the hassle. Talking of merch, I'm using Squarespace right now to develop a Just Ride Bike website to sell my own line of merchandise. Stay tuned for that. So if you like the sound of that, you can get a free trial and 10% of your first purchase by using my special code and link down below in the description. So a big shout out, big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Let's carry on with my list of the best bikes of the year so far. And in at number 2 is a bike I have been riding a lot over the last few weeks and my review is coming very, very soon, but you have seen it here on the channel already. It's a brand new Enve Melee. This bike launched last year. I did a first look on it, but I recently got a chance to ride it and I can't wait to share it with you because my impressions of this bike are really, really good. So firstly, we have all the speed you expect of a bike built for racing and for high performance action, aerodynamic, stiff, pretty lightweight as well. A bike that flies up the climbs and it devours sprints and a bike that really encourages you to ride fast in a way a good race bike should. But what's really nice about the bike is both the handling, fantastic handling, really quite measured, quite predictable, no skittiness at all, and then the comfort and the smoothness. Now, race bikes have been getting better and better in terms of the comfort they offer, but the Enve seems to take it up to another level. And then there's the fact they're spaced up to 35mm wide tyres, which going back a few years ago would have been unheard of on an endurance bike, let alone a race bike. And then my other favourite feature are the mudguard mounts, or fender mounts if you're watching in the US. While some people have a dedicated winter bike with mudguards for riding through the winter when it's raining and save their summer race bike for summer racing, lots and lots of people I know personally ride their same race bike year round. They have one bike and they ride it all year round, through the summer and through the winter. But what the Enve offers is the ability to fit proper mudguards, which are more sturdy and offer better protection and coverage for you and the rider behind you in my experience. So a bike you can use year round, summer racing, sporties, and then winter riding with mudguards for the winter training rides in the rain seems like an amazing option to me. The only downside to the Enve so far is, well, there's only one colour option here in the UK. There is a lovely blue in the US. So more colour options would be good. And I'm undecided whether the graphics are understated and cool or a bit plain and boring. I like the fact we don't have all the loud logos on the down tube, but some people have commented that it's a bit underwhelming, so let me know your thoughts down below. And then the price, well, it's fairly pricey. It's not a cheap bike for sure. It's like S-Works sort of money, and there are a lot of options in that sort of kind of top end price bracket for sure. So quite a pricey option, but a very interesting bike nonetheless. And then number one on my list, drum roll please, is of course the Specialized S-Works Crux, my custom build S-Works Crux that some of you have seen here in the channel. It's a bike I took to California for my recent trip to go to Sea Otter Festival and do some riding in Marin County, and the bike was amazing. On the road, on the gravel, everywhere, the bike was fantastic. So the Crux launched 2 years ago, so not a new bike, but not an old bike, but still one of the most interesting and I think exciting bikes in the gravel CX category, and also all-road as well. So big tyre clearance, super lightweight frame, nice round tubes, external cable routing, great geometry and handling. So when it came to building a bike for my summer adventures, the Crux was top of my list, and it hasn't disappointed at all. I love the low weight. Although weight isn't everything, the way the bike responds underneath you is amazing. It feels so light and energetic and agile. You can use kind of telepathic ability to put it where you want on a trail and around corners, and just seems to float over rough stuff so well. Such a fun, kind of juicy bike to ride off-road. And then geometry, the handling, fantastic. Definitely more road biased, so it's really good on the road and smooth gravel than more of a mountain bike inspired gravel bike like the BMC Earth, for example. So not quite as good in really rowdy, steep stuff, but surprisingly capable and quite adept in those sort of mountain bike trails I often ride these bikes in. And it's just a bike that really puts a smile on my face every time I ride it. So yeah, it's been a really fun bike to ride for the last 2 months, and I think it's one of the most exciting bikes still. That combination of low weight, geometry, tyre clearance, a bike that is so flexible to CX racing, to gravel. Although it doesn't have a bike packing mount, so you can put a tail fin on the back, handlebar, frame bag, go bike packing. I'll be doing just that next month hopefully, so stay tuned for that. And I might even jazz it up to the next level with a suspension fork very soon. What do you think? Yes or no? Love to hear your thoughts as always. So that is going on the Crux very soon, to see if that takes the Crux build to the next level or a step too far. So those are my 5 best bikes that I've tested here on the channel over the last 6 months so far. Can't wait to see what the next 6 months bring. But before we wrap up, there are some honourable mentions I should add, which almost made my top 5 but didn't quite squeeze in there. And the first one is of course my second-hand Cannondale CAD 12 rim brake bike, which I bought for £400 off Facebook Marketplace. And it's a bike that has reminded me, as if I need reminding, that you don't have to spend a lot of money to get a road bike that offers you all the thrill and sensation and speed and performance and smiles when you are riding a road bike. And yes, it needs some work and some servicing, and it really needs some nice fancy wheels to untap its full potential. It's a bike that still puts a smile on my face. It's not perfect, it's not super smooth, and it's definitely not the fastest bike in my experience, but it works really well. It's a lot of fun to ride. So if you want a bike without spending big money, second-hand is definitely a good option. The Villiers Gran Turismo SLR is definitely worth a quick mention. Beautiful looks, fantastic smoothness and comfort, and loads of speed. Mustn't forget the Vitus Venom Evo, a dual purpose road and or gravel bike, choice of components, great price points, and a great looking bike as well, and a really interesting option in a fast evolving road, all-road and gravel market. And lastly, the Fara All-Road. Not a brand I'd heard of before, but stunning looks, amazing paint job, and a modern all-road bike designed for dealing with rough roads and made for light gravel and dirt, but definitely a road bike at heart, but one with fat tyres and nice relaxed geometry. And although not a new bike, I am still riding my Giant TCR Advance, currently a 1x configuration after swapping from 2x to 1x. So still using that on a frequent basis, I should say. Currently testing some new wheels on that bike, so watch out for that very soon. It's a bike that I still love riding. Fantastically smooth, great handling, love everything about it and the way it looks, and a bike that still turns heads, which is not something Giant bikes often do. So yeah, I'm still riding that. I'm also still riding my Colnago C68, although the spring we've had here in the UK has been wet, wet and wet. so I haven't used it as much as I would have liked, but now it's starting to dry up a little bit and summer has arrived. You're going to see some more action. It needs some new bar tape, got some new wheels destined for it, and I'll be using it for a comparison with the brand new Colnago V4 RS, which some of you have seen on social media has arrived for me to test. So watch out for that very soon. And another bike I'm keen to share with you very soon is a mountain bike. I don't do enough mountain biking here on the channel, but I'm a mountain biker at heart. And I'm currently riding the Canyon Lux World Cup TFR, an amazing XC race bike as used by Mattia van der Poel. And given the path that XC mountain biking has been taking over the last few years, getting better and better, more exciting, and more roadies crossing over to mountain biking and increasing the profile and appeal of the sport is in a really good and healthy place. I'm keen to test more bikes from that discipline and category and really share my love for mountain biking with all of you here on the channel. So watch out for that very soon. And I've got a few other interesting bikes coming up as well. Too many to mention in this video. And if you want to see some more amazing bikes available in 2023, then check out this video right here. And don't forget to subscribe by hitting that button right here. But that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all again very soon.